For our next panelist, I think they're here somewhere, I hope. We have Havas, and I want to welcome to the stage the panelists and the moderator, Doron Wesly, Senior Director of Market Strategy from Tremor Video. Doron, if you could make your way to the stage in the green room. I know you're somewhere around here. There he is. Thank you. And if you could bring your panelists up as well. All right. Grab a seat, guys. Grab a seat. And I'll let you introduce your panelists.
Them on a game show.
No mic? Hold on. Hold on. I'll give you mine if I have to. Is it on?
It's on now.
All right.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Doron, Tremor Video, actually. And I'd like to introduce to you this morning my panel on the left side. I'm going to start with Sarah Amitai, who is with Mobext, part of Havas. And she runs basically all of the client services over there. And she touches all of the 23 clients that she has, that they have. So I'm looking forward to hear more about that. Next to her, we have Adam Kasper, who is EVP and runs partnerships and investments for Havas across all of the offices in North America. He is actually the veteran of Havas here for, I think, about 7 years already under his belt with the company, so it's great to have you on board. And then on his left, we have Michael Kaushansky. He's actually a person I've worked with before when he was at Ogilvy, but now he runs analytics and insights for Havas Media out of New York. So it's great to have you guys. Good morning. Let's start with, we're talking about mobile, I think, right? Today.
That's right here.
That's good to know. I'll start with this very simple question. When you're talking to your clients, and you've got many of them, right, in a variety of categories, what is the number one question you're getting from people when it comes to mobile? Sarah, we'll start with you. That's the easiest.
I think that most clients that we have kind of moved on from mobile as test to kind of mobile as part of their strategy. But what I think they're challenged by mostly is, how do I evaluate mobile's contribution? How do I understand how mobile is either amplifying a message, contributing to a sale? What do I need to know about the space to reach my target audience is really what they're trying to get at.
Adam?
Yeah, I would say that they're looking to understand how they can incorporate mobile into everything else that they're doing. So, I think for a long time, mobile was kind of off in a corner, and there were executions going on, but they quite often didn't tie into what the larger picture was. Now clients are really demanding that, and they want to ensure that their mobile efforts are aligned with, their not just their digital efforts, their offline media efforts as well, so they can take advantage of the way people are using mobile and the incredibly rapid growth we've seen over the past few years with it. Which, as we were just talking before, probably came as a surprise to a lot of people. Not Sarah, but a lot of other people, I think. And so, they really want to understand how they can use mobile as something that is a key part of the strategy that takes advantage of where people are, how they're being exposed to various types of media, and really use it as a connection point. Where they might be inspired by something that they see somewhere else, but they come back to mobile to make that connection with the brand.
So before I'm going to jump over to Michael, you said something very interesting. You're saying they're coming to you and asking questions about this. Do you feel that marketers have a good sense of how widely distributed mobile is and how widely distributed smartphones are now amongst the population?
I would say that they actually don't. I've sat in numerous meetings, conversations with clients, and when we dropped the numbers on them, I think now we're at over half the United States is walking around with this very powerful little computer. How social is really being fueled by mobile activity. Both push and pull communications are really being driven in the social space there. even search. They're surprised to understand that, over 20% of all search on Google is happening on a mobile phone. So they're kind of woken up to the reality and excited, but a little scared to get in at some point.
Michael, from your perspective, when you're thinking about clients that come to you, you're part of a large media team in North America, you touch everybody, and at the end of the day, they typically will come to you at some point and say, what gives? What is my ROI on mobile? What happens in that particular regard?
So to your point, they usually do come to me after large, elaborate strategy meetings about mobile. And they ask me, so how do we measure mobile? How do we measure mobile in relation to other media? They ask the questions around cannibalization. Is the mobile website cannibalizing traffic off my regular site? How should I place mobile in the context of investment vis-a-vis other channels? These are complicated questions. Obviously, from a tracking perspective, there are technologies that exist today that allow us to track within the mobile channel. So we can track, obviously, some display activity. We can track search. We can track activity in mobile site. We can track mobile activity to the regular website. But when it comes to going to the next level, so great, you can track mobile and you can measure mobile, and that's great. But I'm looking at it as a separate piece of data. How can you connect it to my other channels? And does it have impact, and does it have any sort of correlation with offline media, with TV, with print, with any of, how do the QR codes play into this? And so that's a more difficult question, and a question that we're actually being asked quite a lot. So we've started to develop some solutions towards that, and we can talk about those later. But the main question is around measurability, the effectiveness vis-a-vis other channels, and then obviously ROI, which is a much more complicated question.
Is that part typically, Adam, you're talking a lot about partnerships and investments. When they come to you, do they already have a good sense, if they know that mobile is, everywhere, and it's now over 50% have smartphones, do they have a good sense of how to evaluate it? Do they know what they want from you? Do they come to you and say, hey, Adam, I want an app, or I want some mobile website, or do they already have a direction, or do you guys lead them into it?
It happens both ways, I think. I think there are the engagements where a client comes in and they want a specific, task done, whether it's building a website, building an app, that kind of thing. But I think for the most part, they understand, again, that it's not just a channel, it's not just a channel that lives on its own, and I think more than really any other channel, it is something that can connect everything, because it's always with you, and for obvious reasons. So usually, clients want to know what is the best way to utilize and leverage this, the channel, the device. Sarah can probably speak to it a little more than me, but I don't think that they often come in and say, we want this, this, and this. It's not so much of a project focused engagement, more of a strategic engagement where we try and figure out what is the best way we can utilize the channel. How does it fit with everything else? How does it fit for their brand? What should the brand tone be in that space? So usually they're coming in and looking for what's the big picture? How do we use mobile to enhance everything that we do? Versus saying, I want this done. And there certainly are those projects, and we're absolutely happy to take them. But, generally...
What's your Twitter handle so people can actually right away tweet you for business?
Yes.
Hashtag Havas. There we go. So, Sarah, if indeed, people are coming and they have an inkling of an idea of the space, how do you lead them through this process? Because, that's a specialty of Mobext, right?
So I think the best way that we've found to go about it is to really sit with, there's a variety of teams within Havas, both traditional and digital and social and mobile, and really sitting down at the beginning and understanding what the brand challenge is or what the target audience challenge is, understanding how those mobile behaviors really kind of express themselves is really key. So we have to be there at the strategic table during the briefing and not just be a line item on the overall budget. From there, we work with our partners quite extensively to either field research that's innovative and gets insight for our clients, or innovative kind of executions, whether they be media or in-store. But they're really kind of, we're looking at a touch point for consumers and really connecting our clients to that. So if we're sitting at the beginning at the strategic table with all of our partners and really mapping out what the mobile expression is of the consumer journey, then we're doing our job right, and that is more often than not, the case. Again, there could be a project-based kind of, build me this, or I need a mobile site, or I need a tablet execution. But we're aiming to ask more questions about what the mobile behavior is of your target audience and what you want them to do with the, what do you want to communicate to them and what actions you want to take. So the more that we sit at the table at the beginning and really study the audience and think about those touch points and what's meaningful to the consumer, then we're doing our jobs right.
Have you ever had a situation where a client came to you and said, I want X, and you clearly had to guide them away from the X to go back a little bit to the 30,000 foot level, get away from the app or the specific tactic?
We've had a few conversations with clients over the years where they want an app, but they don't know why they want an app. And so what we've kind of
Well, it's cool, right? It's supposed to be cool.
Well, it's very cool. It's just as cool as getting a like on Facebook, I guess.
And what's the value of that?
Michael? So no, we've had those conversations quite a bit with our clients, and I think those conversations are going away now. I mean, I think 2 years ago was I need an app, but what we've asked our clients is why, and what utility are you providing to your target audience over time? Because an app can last hours by now in the App Store, and it's being it's being clouded over by hundreds of thousands of apps as it is. So unless there's some distinct value over time, an app strategy is not for you. And so what we've kind of steered them towards is looking at ways to either sponsor apps, to be a part of a game presence or an app presence in a different way, so that they're a part of an app experience, but they don't have to make the investment that ultimately won't be worthwhile to the consumer.
So when you're talking about then, you've gotten them away from the tactic and you're focusing more about maybe you should sponsor, maybe you should be around the content, maybe you should actually advertise around it. Where does the thinking of measurement come into play? Because you talked about a little bit about consumer insights, so I assume that's what you call Michael and say, hey, Michael, what's the latest and greatest around, moms and how they're, consuming smartphones and tablets and everything, connected TVs, anything that's actually, well, connected TVs is not mobile yet, but, tablets. How do you get to the point of evaluating how much money they need to invest in it? So the money question.
I mean, that comes down to, a bigger picture decision. That comes down to a media allocation decision, and that's certainly made with a view into digital overall and offline overall. I think that the fight that our mobile team is trying to fight is to get mobile considered not as a subset of digital, but to get mobile considered as its own channel, so that when our planning teams are looking at allocation of the budget, they're looking at television, print, digital, whatever, online search, and mobile, as opposed to setting a digital budget and then pulling a piece of it out for mobile. And I think that's kind of where it's been, where mobile comes out of digital. Now the push is kind of to get mobile in that top tier of the decision to ensure that we're carving out enough for the overall channel. Right.
I mean, and the rationale, certainly can be there to pull it out of other channels, because mobile really can be a complementary touch point to TV, to out of home, to print, and in some ways, some print is moving into the digital space quite heavily as it migrates to tablet content. So, in terms of having access to all the different kind of disciplines within Havas, that being traditional and digital and search, we have the ability to kind of really sit down with this team and say this is where funding should come from, because it's a complementary channel to let's say a traditional touch point.
But Michael, that brings a whole new complexity, right? Because if you're thinking zero-sum game, we're not pulling digital, mobile out of digital. It's going to be just a separate, component of the overall experience of above-the-line marketing, right? Above-the-line advertising. And by the way, should it be above the line? Because some people would say it's actually below the line. How would you go about it? I mean, do you have now curves in the mixed models to actually show how well mobile is contributing to sales? Do we have a good measurement around audiences? Is there a good understanding of frequency and reach? I mean, what's the secret sauce that Havas has?
So that's a good question. So some of our sophisticated clients are actually shifting. So traditionally, clients will leverage the media mix model to, at the beginning of budgeting season, to allocate media across all of their channels. And say they'll land on a bucket for digital. And those media mix models are typically developed where you look at your investment across all the media channels and you typically connect it to sales. So that model is breaking down in the sense that it is very difficult to identify the impact of digital and especially mobile in that whole ecosystem. So what we've recommended, and we started to work with clients on a different approach. So it's still a media mix approach, but what we basically do is we break out the customer journey. And at each stage of that journey, at each stage of that funnel, the media mix is different. So at the awareness stage, obviously, maybe broadcast, print, out of home is very effective. Mobile doesn't have that much of a role in especially digital or search. But as you get into that engagement stage, right? So you get somebody to consider, prefer, and get to that engagement stage. What we found through our research is that mobile pops. Mobile pops, search pops, display advertising pops, and so does video. And then once you get back into retail sales, right, into the actual purchase, mobile goes away again, and TV comes back. And it's kind of this weird, non-linear curve of where mobile plays a strong role in the customer journey, and where you would traditionally think that TV would be an awareness buy, but it also plays a strong role also in the purchase cycle. So when you think about kind of mobile investment in that context, typically what we tell clients is, look, if you have a rich digital experience and that's part of your customer journey, we should model that out specifically against those KPIs, and you will see the power of mobile in that. And we've seen great success in that. And that's from an analytic approach, that's how we start to carve out and defend or promote the investment in mobile, video, and some of these other channels.
And you're saying that mobile has a great role in engagement and that television is fantastic for awareness. Are we at a stage where actually you could do two things at the same time, where you're making people aware and enabling them to engage as well through their mobile devices? Is that still sequentially, or is it happening simultaneously now?
Depends on the product or category. So if it is, so that's a really good question actually. If it is let's say a DR-focused campaign with a specific offer, we have seen that cycle from awareness to conversion shrink significantly. And so you might see some sort of an offer, and you might see immediate engagement via mobile device. But for the longer consideration cycles and large big ticket purchases, i.e. automotive, traditionally not. Traditionally, it's been a long cycle of building awareness, and then when they're in market, there's engagement, and at that point, we think mobile seems to work quite well. Once they're in the showroom, mobile doesn't play that strong of a role. Actually, TV and in-store and that sort of thing plays a stronger role.
So we're not seeing people coming now with their tablets and starting to show the dealer research that they've done? That's not yet something that...
From a customer research perspective, I'm sure they're doing that. From an advertising perspective, it has no
Not
impact.
yet.
So a Volvo $399 deal, if you're already in the showroom, you already know that that's the case.
Okay.
But I would say a couple things regarding that. The first is that the mobile device is such a offers such a diverse experience for the consumer that you can have that awareness, effectively build awareness through mobile. Through video, obviously, through things like I add more enhanced experiences, that kind of thing, where you really can kind of create a brand affiliation, a brand love from a consumer through the mobile channel. And the second thing is and we're not quite there yet from an industry perspective, is the NFC technologies, the wallet technologies that really will put mobile more on the map from a purchase perspective, from a closing the loop perspective. And I think that once that is more distributed, you know, in our culture, and I think everybody expects it to happen pretty rapidly once we see some more phones coming out with that technology in it, I think you're going to start to see an entire consumer journey happening on the mobile space. Not as much as television for a while, but I think it's going to start to happen a lot more, and you're going to start to see more power, you know, just for brands happening just in mobile, and enabling, you know, advertisers to really develop an entire strategy within the space.
I always wondered why, you know, in Europe you have like billboards for clothes and you have billboards for movies where they have like a QR code on it, and when you actually scan it with your phone, it automatically goes into your schedule, and not only that, you could actually purchase a ticket through it. And I never understood why it's not yet completely here in the US in terms of those applications.
Well, you know, unfortunately, the U.S. is a very competition has also bred some fragmentation. So, you know, in Europe or in Japan, in the Phuc Rim, you have, you know, only a handful of carriers and a handful of device manufacturers. Here in the U.S., you have, you know, iOS, you have Windows, you have Android, and you have RIM for a little while longer, I guess. But
Anybody from RIM here?
But you also have the carriers getting involved in it because they all want to be a part of the equation and of value and actually charge for it. So technologies like NFC, technologies like QR have really not taken off in the U.S. because so many people are trying to be a part of the equation and extract value from it. I do think that NFC holds a lot of hope, but we've got PayPal, we've got Google, and we have ISIS all vying for power. And so over the next couple of years, we'll start to see things kind of progress to a point where consumers are actually getting educated. They're getting value out of it to try out the new technology. But it's going to take a little bit because the U.S. is such a competitive market space. You know, it kind of holds up technology a little bit compared to our counterparts overseas.
And what Adam said was also interesting in terms of the video aspect of it. I think that it's interesting if people are watching, you know, on Hulu or YouTube a video and they see, you know, an ad as a pre-roll or in-stream, you could actually see that it becomes an awareness tool. It's not necessarily just an engagement tool.
Sure.
Michael, do people know that they can actually measure mobile? Do they know that they can potentially do maybe a dynamic logic survey, or that they can actually understand brand health metrics or a Visu study? Do they know that that's available to them?
On mobile, not so much. So that is something that we're educating clients quite a bit. They are aware that mobile can be measured from a behavioral standpoint. So, you know, impressions, clicks, visits to the mobile site, app downloads, and in certain technology allows you to measure in-app engagement. But very few are actually, at least our clients are actually engaged in attitudinal studies on the mobile device. So I do think there's opportunity for that. At the same time, I don't know what that experience would be like, right? So, you know, is it one, you know, Visu might work because it's one question. Dynamic logic may not work if it's 30 questions. So, you know, because your device is this small, right? And you're on the go. So it depends. I mean, typically you take surveys when you have a little bit of time, not typically when you're kind of going from point A to point B. So, you know, yes, there might be technology that's available to execute some of the stuff on a mobile device, but logically or strategically, you may not want to do it, or you may think about doing it, but in a different way.
And what about traditional metrics like a GRP? Is that something that's currently available, or do you think that it should become available? What's your point? What's Havas' point?
So Havas is actually working. So we're taking all of the studies and the research that's been published by the IAB. We're actually in the process of developing a qualified online GRP for regular online display impressions, et cetera. And we are thinking about doing the same thing for mobile. The reason we're doing that is because our marketers and our clients are expecting mobile metrics to start to conform to online metrics. Online metrics are now starting to conform to offline metrics. i.e. GRP.
Right.
So why would an online impression have to be a GRP? Well, just that's because they budget their marketing dollars that way. So then if we can somehow connect our mobile impression to a GRP, at that point we're looking at apples to apples to apples. And so at that point we can do the actual pie and we can figure out, okay, we want to give 6% to mobile. It makes sense, they'll deliver this number of GRPs. And those GRPs we know through our modeling will deliver X% in sales, conversions, whatnot.
Feels like it's going the wrong way, right?
It's a little bit odd, right? How we're always trying to mimic the TV world
Right.
with the GRP. So what is that right? Are we going the right
Well,
way?
I think it's I think it's the way to get more investment in digital and in mobile in the short term. Because
From whom? Are we stealing it just from TV, or are we stealing it from all channels?
From all channels, but I think that's a language that the marketing industry understands very well. Client organizations understand very well, and so it's a lot easier to grow a budget if you can put it in terms of the currency that they're used to spending it in. I don't think that the GRP is the best solution for digital or for mobile.
Why? Can you be more specific? Why?
Yeah, because it's a very it's a very kind of, I don't know, 30,000-foot view definition. It gives you it tells you a number of people. It doesn't tell you anything about what they do. It doesn't tell you anything about how they're engaging, you know, what type of impact the message is having. Those are all things that we can access, that we look at on a daily basis, that everyone here does. So, so it seems that we're going to the least common denominator versus kind of pulling everything the other way. Not that you can get that type of rapid response and data from television, but it's getting closer to do that. And so I would hate to see the industry kind of sell the insight that it has into what consumers are doing short, and you know, go to a metric that is really much more simple than we have the ability to do. So yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that you feel we may need it a little bit just to get a common denominator around it, but that we should not take away the important metrics, the engagement metrics, the interactive metrics, because otherwise we're dumbing
I don't
down.
think that stuff's going to go away, but it's just, you know, it's looking at it too simplistically. But yet, you know, it's like, you know, I think we're kind of torn because we know that it's the way to get more dollars into this space, but yet it's not the best way to rationalize and support what these channels are doing for us.
You know, we're at the mobile media upfront. Do you ever foresee a moment where we'll have a similar situation like TV, where we're going to get together, we're going to be at Radio City Music Hall, and no, you know, this is a great location, by the way, but, you know, a little bit bigger would be nice, and where we would have, like, a show of new mobile shows that are coming on your tablets and on your phones, and where people were actually, you know, they're hungry to bid on you know, maybe on the HBO Go platform or somewhere else. Do you ever foresee that happening? Is that something that's futuristic 10 years from now, or is that faster? Is it going to happen? Does it need to happen?
So, I mean, my take on it is that what we'll continue to see is, you know, is the content being, I would imagine at the Upfronts this year, and I'm certainly no TV expert by any stretch, is that what you're going to see are how these shows are extended out into digital platforms, and how, you know, the viewing experience can be more experiential and engaging. So I don't know that we would see an Upfront for a mobile, you know, TV series or mobile series per se, and that would have the weight that television continues to have. But I think that television will continue to evolve to a point where we're talking about all the different extensions that people are consuming that show or that content on.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, so two things. One is the past few weeks we've had all these digital content upfronts, which I think is a move in the right direction. It certainly puts digital programming on the map. It gets advertisers more interested and more excited about something that can be bought online in terms of, you know, entertainment type of things. So I think that's great that that's happening. But in terms of it really turning into something big in digital and something big in mobile, have to think back to why there are upfronts in the first place. The reason there are upfronts in the first place is that there is a finite amount of inventory for the networks to sell. They have a very limited amount of spots that they can sell, and they wanted to give all the advertisers an even playing field and obviously drive the prices up as much as possible. That doesn't really exist in digital or in mobile. Mobile's not quite there yet, but it will be certainly very soon, and digital is there. There's an unlimited amount of impressions out there. It's limited in certain areas. You might not be able to get a very specific sponsorship or own a very specific piece of content if somebody else has bought it. But there are billions and billions of impressions out there that you can keep buying and keep buying. It's not going to run out anytime soon. So I think that really kind of puts a damper on what type of success there will be in an upfront scenario, because it's not really needed. If I don't buy in an upfront, again, unless it's something very specific that I need to buy, but if I don't buy in an upfront, I can buy it next week or in a month or in 6 months. It's going to be there. I can get my impressions. So I think that's why an upfront scenario won't really take off in the digital space.
And scratch Radio City Music Hall. No, that's okay. Michael, do you want to add anything?
I was going to add one quick thing, in that so in the TV world, it's a group sport, right? So it's a group sport or an individual sport. You watch it as a team or you watch it individually. When you think about content for mobile, it's an individual, right? Right? It's an individual that's actually consuming it. So there's, I don't want to say limitation, but there's some thought process around what type of content you want to actually promote on a mobile device versus that you may or may not consider for a larger device.
Sarah, do you want to, I think you have a couple of case studies, right,
Yep.
that you may want to share with us. So maybe what we'll do is we'll show the case studies, and then I'm sure there may be some questions that you guys may have. So obviously pay attention to what Sarah shows you, because it's actually very interesting. But if you have a
extremely
question, keep that in mind, and we'll go back to it.
Yeah, so our group wanted to bring some of the work that we have been doing recently to this discussion. And I think that, the one thing I'll talk about Volvo's partnership with Major League Baseball first is that I know that there are some folks out here from the industry, just a few, right? And I would just say that this particular partnership, and we'll get into what value it delivers to consumers, really speaks to how we can partner with our partners better. We really pushed innovation here. We really pushed MLB to develop new programs that hadn't existed before. So with that, I'll kick off MLB. I'm going to let it tell its story, but certainly feel free to ask questions afterwards.
On opening day 2011, Volvo presented fans with the exclusive opportunity to receive MLB.TV free for the month of April on their iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch. When fans purchased At Bat 11 on their wireless device, Volvo presented them with the chance to watch every inning live for the first month of the season, free. Volvo was seamlessly integrated in At Bat with video pre-roll, a fixed Volvo bug, and an in-between inning slate on MLB.TV, as it was delivered through Apple TV, the iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch. We further promoted the offer through the extensive reach of MLB's and the club's social media, including Facebook and Twitter. The groundbreaking program caught the attention of numerous media and news outlets, including Ad Age and the New York Times, to name a few. By creating a campaign that ran across multiple platforms, Volvo was able to extend its reach and awareness for the brand, all while providing fans with premium content for free.
So with that sponsorship, you know, what we were able to do is really, one, extend the presence. I mean, Volvo didn't have the money to have this large of a sponsorship opportunity with the MLB. It's much, much more expensive if you're talking about broadcast. But with this particular you know, sponsorship, we knew that we had the eyeballs and the attention of this audience, that they used their tablets and their mobile phones quite extensively to watch MLB and to watch their teams. So this partnership made perfect sense. You know, what was really interesting, though, was, you know, we created value for the consumer, value for the audience by giving them something that was very valuable and free. This was a $15 a month prescription. I have a cold, so, you know, I'm thinking about my next trip to Walgreens, but our subscription. And, you know, they actually saw an uptick in the actual subscriber base, you know, due to this, because they got it from Volvo. And then the social sphere just exploded. You know, you saw some of those crazy numbers. And, you know, what it speaks to is that there was a very viable and very large audience for Volvo to tap into, and a very, you know, engaged audience. So providing value to that audience reaped just, you know, untold benefits, or maybe some told benefits, as the case study kind of outlined. I'm going to do, I think we have time for one more case study. And this one actually is all about New York. And this is for McDonald's. And essentially, when it comes to McDonald's, people think of the Big Mac, the fries, and the nuggets. But they don't really know anything about McDonald's McCafe line of drinks, which, you know, are smoothies, which are frappes, which are all kinds of premium drinks. So what we wanted to do, and again, this is in concert with all the channels. What you'll see is mobile plays a key role in a very integrated strategy, is that we wanted to get the conversation moving around the beverages at McDonald's. People like to go to Starbucks. People like to go to Dunkin' Donuts. But the awareness of what's going on at McDonald's and this new line of drinks and how inexpensive they are really wasn't happening. So we deployed a you know, hyper-local, really celebrating the personality of New York and all the 5 boroughs, and, you know, really started the conversation with mobile, with social, with out-of-home, and made connection points throughout.
McDonald's recently had a unique challenge: how to get customers to see McDonald's, not just as a fast food provider, but as a beverage destination as well. A place to go specifically for beverages. The category had a number of competitors who were already leading the charge. The competition also had many more brick-and-mortar locations to conveniently service those customers. We had to leverage insights on how the target audience feels about beverages. We found the perfect group. They move fast, they look forward, and they believe beverages are a very important part of their lives. Who are these people? New Yorkers.
New York is unlike any other city in the world. It's where fashion trends are set, celebrities are born, and cool is defined. It's why New Yorkers are proud to call themselves New Yorkers. So McDonald's decided to give them a vehicle to celebrate what they love most about living where they do: toasting with McCafe beverages, and a campaign called Toast Your Town. Geo-targeted billboards appear to miss the noise and crowds where people live and work and commute, and radio advertising got them talking about the campaign.
We've got everything you could ask for, so I raised my McCafe beverage to it all, from our skylines to our coastlines.
To our boroughs, our burbs, and our beaches.
To the best teams, to the best people, to the best accents, and to feeling bad for those who have to settle.
I don't know if you guys seen these ads, but they say you got to get you an iced coffee from McDonald's because they don't want you to fall asleep and end up in Far Rockaway unless you live there.
I love that side.
Banner ads found people where they check daily email, the news, and weather. And geo-targeted mobile banners caught people's attention on smartphones. ToastYourTown.com became the summer headquarters for New Yorkers, raising glasses with McCafe beverages. It kicked off with the first ever McCafe Live banner event, where people used the Twitter hashtag ToastYourTown to see and hear their toast read live to the world.
100 TM says to Manhattan, this weekend starts the Come Out and Play Festival. Who doesn't love a scavenger hunt? I love, wow, toast to that. Scavenger hunt, Manhattan?
Copy Boy says, to summer haircuts, tell the Brooklyn ladies to style it up. A toast to that.
Next, people used their phones and Foursquare to check into McDonald's stores for a little friendly competition between cities and boroughs. and the chance to earn their neighborhood one of 3 summer block parties featuring free McCafe beverages. They also had a chance to vote for their favorite McCafe beverages to help decide which would be named the Toast of the Summer. All part of a campaign to celebrate living in New York and loving where we live. Here's to all of it, NYC. Here's to you.
The communication strategy was effective in representing McDonald's as a happening brand and making it a preferred beverage destination. New Yorkers were able to show they were trendsetters and ahead of the curve. Overall, the campaign increased McDonald's Twitter followers by 46% to 12,000. Twitter's promoted accounts drove 6,429 profile views to the handle, of which 85% of them became followers. These engagements solicited users to showcase how they felt about their region and favorite McCafe beverage. 483 toasts were tweeted. Now that's hometown pride. Mobile generated 9,478 check-ins via Foursquare. New Jersey was the winner of the first McCafe summer party, 1,629 check-ins. A total of 1,750 wallpapers were downloaded and 787 users used the store locator to look for the nearest McDonald's. As a result of our multimedia approach, McDonald's McCafe effectively became part of the New York City landscape.
So again, you kind of see how an integrated approach really can amplify, and you can also see how mobile is really kind of key within all of it in terms of, you know, the Twitter following, you know, people kind of, you know, interacting with the campaign, you know, all of this, you know, all the work that was done via mobile, you know, a site that was capable of really kind of integrating with the rest of the campaign was really key. So, you know, this is sort of just a little demonstration of how our teams work. You know, we all sit down at the table, no matter what our discipline is, and figure out what are the right touch points and how does that touch point really engage the audience. So we're focused on mobile, but we sit down at a table of experts in other channels.
It's an incredible case studies, and I'm amazed by the number of people that actually were exposed to the Volvo campaign. It's millions of people. It's television numbers, basically. So first of all, thank you for sharing those case studies. I'd love to hear some questions that you may have for this all-star team from Havas around mobile and mobile strategies. Do we have anybody?
From the audience.
Oh, we have one over here. This is great. Hold on just a second.
I'm coming.
Excuse me.
Hi, my name is Aston Morgan. I'm with Motricity. We are a mobile ad network. And Adam, I called on you years ago. Great seeing you.
How are you?
Opinion on DRPs. I have a question, though. I think, Michael, you stated that mobile is good for engagement. Then I think I heard Adam say, but also could be for branding. So just trying to be smarter when we approach you guys, like where should we look at mobile when we talk to you, or how should we speak to you about it, in particular from an ad network standpoint? Can you add some additional insight into that, or is it?
Sure. Again, it does depend on the type of product, as I mentioned, and the type of brand. So, and the campaign, right? So if the campaign is very much what I would say offer-driven, right, and focused on kind of the bottom line, that I think kind of engagement and kind of further down the funnel, those metrics start to showcase mobile's capability in terms of kind of converting and providing value to that campaign. In cases like what you just saw here, especially for Volvo, I think it plays a much more a stronger role in the upper funnel in terms of its marketing tactics. So it would depend. I mean, I think strategy would probably dictate where we would want to leverage mobile, but certainly it probably, you know, it depends on the product and the brand.
Also, we never agree on anything. So.
It's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think also that people like to put mobile in a box. It's about location, and it's about you know, it's about this or it's about that. And our group tries to expand that definition because people are using their mobile phones in ways that, you know, we haven't even caught up to yet. And there's certainly things that we know mobile delivers well on, but I think that that as marketers we need to look at how consumers are really using this and what are the possibilities. So there is absolutely a branding or an engagement spectrum that we should be putting together for our clients. And then there are certainly sort of those DR-focused kind of lower funnel metrics that we know we can deliver on. So, we continue to look at different formats that we get from our partners to see where they fit in the consumer journey for our clients.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Present it all. Present it all. Just, we're open.
Any other questions going once? Going twice? Oh, copy. All right.
All the way.
You guys want to pass this down to him?
Hi, Mark Walsh from MediaPost. Just in regard to the Volvo.
If you can speak up a little bit, that would be great.
Sorry. In regard to the Volvo campaign that you highlighted, I interviewed Linda Gangari at Volvo about the campaign a couple of months ago, and she brought up some of the different results you had mentioned. But at the same time, they didn't re-up this year to do that again. So I asked her, why not? With all the success, why didn't you do it again? And she explained that they like to do these kind of campaigns because they generate a lot of publicity, but they tend to be one-offs, which they'll do from time to time. So how do you deal with that problem if a client essentially wants to do a mobile campaign or something like this, maybe at a lesser cost for the publicity value they get out of it, but not to maintain a mobile effort going forward?
So I would say this about Linda, is that one, so the mobile investment from Volvo has actually gone up. It's just gone in different directions. And as far as Volvo and their strategy, in this particular case, they were looking for an innovative new way, and again, a kind of really cost-effective and really kind of amplifying kind of opportunity. We're continuing to look for those opportunities for her. They don't like to, I would say this, Linda's the owner of the overall strategy, so your best source is to go to her and continue to go to her, but we continue to look for partnerships that continue to innovate and continue to provide new value. So not the same value that we got last year, but new and different value in different arenas. So again, Volvo's commitment to mobile has actually increased. It's just taking a different form.
Great. Thank you guys very much. Let's give them a big round of
applause.
Thank you. All right.